Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. I want to tell you that this has all come about under the auspices of Kenneth Cole, the great designer. I work in pediatric mental health for Nationwide Children's Hospital, and we wanted to get Nationwide Children's, the pediatric mental health operation, included in the Kenneth Cole Mental Health Coalition. It's something he started. I think he started it during the pandemic, because he felt it was really important that people would have an opportunity to be able to get the help they need, to be able to vent, to be able to take care of their children, their spouse. And so he allowed us to join his coalition, which is just fantastic for a businessman like that. And he said to me, I'm not always sure why I did it. And I said, well, thank goodness, Kenneth, that you did do it. So here's a man who's been successful, enormously successful in business, who's decided to join this effort here. And this, of course, is Mental Health Month. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about each of our issues that are out there. And we are going to be joined, and by the way, in case you don't know, I'm John Kasich. I'm the former governor of the state of Ohio, and I've been in politics a lot of my life, but now out and in the media at CNN and run my business, and it's just, I'm just doing great. But tonight, I'm very excited. And I'm going to tell you, my wife tonight sent me a message, and she said this, which I then added to my Twitter account. They will be talking all night long rather than dancing on the ceiling, but it's really me they're looking for. Now, what does that all mean to you? Well, I'll tell you what it means to me. It's Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie is going to join us tonight to talk about his efforts around the issue of mental illness. Of course, Lionel has been a Grammy award-winning superstar. He's an American Idol judge, and of course, he's legendary. We were together in a program out in Colorado, and I was getting ready to check into the hotel, and there he was. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, I know you. You're the guy they try to trap all the time, and you figure about a way to get out of it." He said, "I always watch and I always laugh." And so we started to connect. And he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And I'm so thrilled to have him here tonight. And Lionel, the most important thing, I think, now for us to talk about is the ability of people to realize that when they are in a position where they can admit that they're weak, they're actually strong, as opposed to people who say they're strong and they really have big problems. I always say, well, that's weakness. So the ability to recognize the challenges that all of us have really does matter, don't you believe? Let me just tell you a little bit about my story. One August night, 1987, I got a phone call very late at night that my mother and father had been in a terrible accident, that my father had died, and that my mother was not going to make it, and that I needed to go to Pittsburgh, where this accident took place, and try to get there and to deal with the situation, which you could imagine was just devastating. When I was a young boy, I was always fearful that my father would go to pick my mother up at night, late at night when she worked, and I was always worried that maybe one night they wouldn't come home. Isn't it ironic that many years later, actually they didn't come home, that they had been in a terrible, terrible accident? So I entered what you would call the black hole. And some of you who are watching tonight know exactly what I'm talking about. It's where everything around you goes black, and you might have a tiny little pinprick of light, and you look through that tiny little pinprick of light, and you hope to see tomorrow. And I've got to tell you, at that point in time, I didn't know how I was going to survive. I was so deeply affected. But I will also tell you, because I opened myself up, because I allowed people to see the deep pain and the confusion and the anguish that I was going through, and my siblings, that I had people that came to help me. And it started a situation for me where I began to really find out who I was, tried to find out what my relation was to the higher power, to God, to deal with the issues in my lifetime that maybe I had never dealt with before.
Yeah.
And whenever I tell people, Lionel, about this situation,
Yeah.
they're always, as they really should be, say, I'm so sorry. But I have to say that I've come through it pretty much unscathed for the simple reason that I dealt with it over a long period of time to figure out who I was. And you're never free of it all, but I'm a pretty happy fellow. And so I've seen the darkest and the deepest. And when you enter that black hole with that tiny little pinprick of light, you unfortunately join a club of other people who have been through those kinds of tragedies.
Very true.
I'm proud of the fact that I could open up, Lionel, and I could admit weakness and not just think that things would go away and I'd be better. Lionel, for you,
let me say something to you, because I've got to tell you, I think that was our bonding moment when I met you that first day. Of course, I've known you from television. I've known you from your politics and everything, but I never met you face to face. I think what touched me most about you was I was actually having a conversation with a real person. It was like having a conversation with myself. We were like two best old friends that just met for the first time. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before in my life, but we hit it off immediately only because we just came real to each other. And from that point on, I kind of get who you are and why we're actually friends. And I'm using that not loosely, but we're actually friends. And so to hear your story and to understand how you got through this, we've all had those moments where it can't get any darker. It just cannot get any darker. And then you realize, I'm going to have to walk through this. And whoever was there with you at the time you were coming through this, whether it was God or whether it was family or whether it was friends or
all the above.
All the above. I was going to say, you're walking through this and you're realizing there's only one way to do this, and that is go through it. The other way is to give up and fall down and it's over, but you realize I'm going to have to build, as my father would call it, character will be built on tragedy. Your character is going to be built on tragedy. Things that don't go the way you want it, that's when the character comes out and who you are and what you really stand for.
Lionel, what's interesting is when you go through something like that, you then are able to approach other people who have challenges.
Exactly.
Because you can relate to them. How about for you? You were in a deep funk, I understand, when you lost your dad. Tell us about that.
Well, I'll be glad to tell you about it. And now that I look back on it, I even wonder how I got through it. Three things were happening all at the same time. My dad called and said, son, I want you to come home. I'm not doing well. I want you to go to the doctor with me. Now, my father's a military guy, and I've never seen him sick a day in his life. So when my dad tells me to come home, he wants me to go to the doctor with him. That's called what the heck is going on. That's number one. Number two, while I'm going through this with my dad, I'm having polyps on my vocal cords. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, okay. So the doctor's saying we might have to do a little surgery. Okay, that's number two. Third thing, my marriage is now falling apart. So I'm going through a divorce, surgery, and my dad dying. I could not think of a deeper hole to be in at that particular time, especially being on top of the world, supposedly. And so I'm in public life, if you can imagine this. And if you know anything about what you do, I'm from Alabama. And in Alabama, you don't put all your business out in the street because you keep it as quiet as possible till you get over it.
Yeah.
In public life, everybody knows your business on a day-to-day basis, so you have to kind of get used to being exposed. And finally, I realized at this particular stage of my life, I'm going to have to walk this life. And I found that the friends who I thought were my friends were not necessarily my friends. The people that I left in Alabama became the anchor. The minister that I had met, that I grew up with in Alabama, became the guy who said, let me tell you how you get through this. And then faith, friends, and just tenacity. You walk through this. And by the way, as I came out of it, what I thought was going to be 1 year of taking off became 3 years just to get over the mental and the physical. And believe it or not, at that particular time, I was a little opposed to it because I'd never dealt with it before. Someone said, you might want to talk to somebody, Lionel. You might want to talk to a doctor. You might want to talk to a person who can guide you through this. And I remember sitting in that office one day going, I can't tell this guy my business. You know, this is not what I do. And then finally, slowly, I started opening up. And then I realized something. I'm not the first guy this has ever happened to. There are tons of people out there going through the same life story. Maybe not throat surgery, maybe, but we're all having our cross to bear. You know what I'm saying? And then I remember sitting at a counter one day in Beverly Hills, and I was going, you know, I've had a rough time, man. My dad just died, and everybody in the place said, yeah, I felt the same when my dad died. And I realized I'm in a fraternity. There's a sorority and a fraternity.
That's exactly what I was talking about. It makes you a real person when you can admit that you hurt, that you have pain.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Lionel, what do you think when we look at coming out of COVID now? And this is something I'm familiar with because of my work in pediatric mental health with Nationwide Children's.
Yeah.
These young people, you know, locked up, isolated from their friends. What do you think mom and dad can do? You know, I've got two 21-year-old daughters. As you know, with dad, we worry about our kids all the time.
Yeah.
And we've got to be able to listen to them, don't we? I mean, because some kids have been so isolated and it's been so difficult for them. You worry, even though we're coming out of this, we worry about the long-term impact on our children.
Governor, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with parents. You know, normally as parents, we find ourselves we've always been the anchor. We've always been the rock, where we know exactly what to do when our kids come to us in any kind of crisis, because we have always been there, done that. And what I'm finding out for the first time, the kids are looking to the parents, and the parents are not sure what the heck is going on. For the first time, parents are sitting there going, oh my God, what do I do? My kid's home all the time now, and we can't go out, and they're complaining about wanting to go out, and I'm trying to protect them, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know, how do I get through this? Now, if the parent is in doubt, and that's the stability of the family, that's the ground floor for all kids. And all of a sudden you realize we've never done this before. We've never been through a situation like this. And so coming out of this, it's really, stability has always been the shaky ground now. Normally you could go to school and you got the same kind of stability that you got at home. But when you can't go to school and when you can't go out of your house, where are we? And then you realize your parents, they can't go to work. So the same confusion that the kid is going through, you notice that your mom and dad are going through. And all of a sudden, we've gone through a period now of what, a year, almost a year now, of complete insecurity for the whole family. So stepping back into real life now, I mean, we've got to get the kids back to normality. When I say normal, whatever the new normal is in terms of structure. Structure is so important. You know, when we grew up, we had a thing called, this is the way it is. And what I learned is, if your dad and mom said, this is what it is, that's what it was, you see. But now in this new generation of my younger kids, we're doing our own thing. Well, you've got to understand, they don't know the structure that we knew in the severity of it all. So trying to get the whole world back into some kind of structure. As my dad say, you can't break the rules if you don't have any rules to start with. And right now we've got to get back to some form, as I think, of some kind of rule, some kind of structure that at least we all can agree on as to the path forward. Now, if we don't have that, we're going to fall to prey to many different versions of which is
Yeah,
not good
I think
for our
Lionel, for
kids.
those both adults and parents seeking help, and where do you go? You can go to the family physician.
Yes,
You can go to the minister, the rabbi.
yes,
You can go to the friend down the street. You will be amazed when you open yourself up, the people that will come to help you.
yes.
And we have challenges. We don't have enough therapists. We
No,
don't have enough insurance. One of the reasons I
no.
expanded Medicaid in Ohio was to make sure people could get help, that we would
Very
have
good.
the resources to provide them help. But my message tonight is, if you are older and you are struggling, you got to get help. If you're a parent, you're not sure where you're going to go. We've got information before we get off this tonight with a
Very good.
man named Parker Huston, who's going to talk about the fact that we have information for you to at least give you some guideposts. You know, ladies and gentlemen who are watching this man is really incredible. I said to him, why is it that the songwriters fade away? And they wrote great songs for a long time, and then they don't write them anymore. And he looked at me and he said, John, when you let the little boy inside of you die, that's when you can't create anymore. Lionel, how have you prevented that from happening? Why are you still, creating and have such great confidence? Where does that come from for you?
You know, I must admit, I think the big shock of my life, I must admit, John, was when I became a parent. And I remember driving home one day with the kids in the car, and I said, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm a kid, and now I'm responsible for these people in the back seat. Wait a minute, who's going to take care of me? And so
Yeah.
I've always been the kid. It's one of those things where when I find myself in a room of adults, I always feel to this day that I'm the kid in the room, because I hear adults talking and they're so locked into their life, into this is the way it is, this is the way it's going to be, blah, 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 blah. And I'm realizing embracing change is the key to being a child. Every day is going to be different. Every day you form something else. Every day you morph into this new person. And instead of life being scary, which it always is, you find out what's next. What's next? What's the next adventure? And so I have found that if I just embrace change, and secondly, hang out with the kids for a minute. You want to know what's really going on?
Yeah.
Instead of hanging out with guys our age, hang out with the kids for a minute and ask them one question. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
What
Well,
do you think about this?
As you told me, you can hang out with your kids, but you can only do it for a short period of time because they don't want you around. I'm in that club with you. They just,
Listen,
and
listen.
think about his kids. Lionel, we have a gentleman who'll join us for a few minutes here. His name is Dr. Parker Huston, and he is the head clinical psychologist at Nationwide Children's. Parker, are you with us? Let's see if we can pull him in. And
I look forward to meeting him.
let me see if we can get him, because if we do, we'll be able to have him talk about some of the things that adults can do and some of the things that parents can do. And there he is.
Hi, guys.
So I think Dr.
Doctor,
you've been listening to this conversation that Lionel talked about our own depth, the darkness in our own lives, but also the challenges that parents have in terms of their children and the issues that kids have to deal with. You want to take a little whack at the way you see all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, you guys are both, it's just great conversation so far. And honestly, listening to you, Governor Kasich, I already get to.
Doctor. Don't screw it
I'm
up.
trying. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I'm supposed to be the closer here, I'm supposed to be the closer, but you guys have set it up. But, Governor, I already get to work with you some. I know that you're really passionate about this. Lionel, I just want to thank you for talking about this and opening up. And honestly, you're hired if you want to come talk with us about families and mental health, because you made a lot of really wonderful points about family dynamics and, inconsistency and tragedy that people are going through this year. And so the way that we are seeing this from the mental health side of things, and especially pediatric psychology, is the long-term impact is going to be different for a lot of families. And it's really based on what their structure was like before, what's been going on this year, and how many adjustments they've been able to make, how they've pivoted in the past year. And then when things start inching back to what we would consider a more typical existence, how flexible are they? And Lionel, you already mentioned this, that, you know, one of the things that's kept you feeling young and feeling excited about your work is your openness to new experience, your openness to change. And for some people, that's really debilitating. For other people, it's something that they welcome as a challenge. And I think, you know, Governor, I know you're the same way. You've changed a lot in your personal and professional life over the past however many years. And so, you know, I think you both have that quality. And that's what we've been trying to teach kids and families and parents, is how to adapt more of those mindsets about, you know, working through the challenges, growing from them.
What
Yeah.
do you have anything any anchor that you can put out there for them? Any place they can go where they can get some direction to understand what their role can be and how they can be a healer? What can you tell us about that?
Well, you know, I think this is my shameless plug time, which is, you know, the program I work for is called On Our Sleeves, and it's a mental health awareness program for kids and families. And I'm the clinical director of that program. And, you know, onoursleeves.org is our website. But really, you know, what I encourage people to do is find the resource that works for you. On Our Sleeves is all about prevention, education, activities with your kids, starting conversations about mental health and wellness. And so, you know, if those are things that you feel like are helpful for you and your family right now, then everything we do is free and easily accessible. But I'd also encourage you, like both of you have mentioned, if you feel like you're in a place where you need assistance, don't hesitate. Call somebody, talk to your pediatrician, someone at your school, a trusted friend, and, you know, just reach out.
Lionel, do you ever, you know, as you're feel that you need to even today, do you have friends that you talk to when you reach certain challenges? I do. But, you know,
Absolutely.
And how do you, what do you have, the same people? Like, I've got a couple people I can say anything to, and I'm not embarrassed by it.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. I have dealt, this is Hollywood, Doc and Governor. You understand what I'm saying? This is Hollywood. So everything is exaggerated, off the chain, ridiculously out of proportion. And so what happens with me, I have my in Hollywood group, and I have my Alabama grew up from preschool, elementary school, high school, college group that I still am friends with. So there's in my in Hollywood group, you know, at the time when I first got here, Sidney Poitier and Quincy Jones and Mancini, these were the guys who have been here forever. And so Dick Clark, you know, when you have these guys, they've seen everything, they've done everything. And so when I walk in with my crisis and say, oh my God, how do you deal with this kind of pressure? They all start laughing, because it's new to me, but it's not new to them. As long as you have someone advising you they understand what you're going through. In my growing up in Tuskegee, when I'm dealing with something that's just over the top, out of control, I'll call up one of my friends in Alabama and say, let me run this by you. And they start laughing. They say, Lionel, that's a Hollywood problem. That's not a real problem. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to understand, it's who you're talking to where you'll get the real answer to your quiz. For example, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. There's no need of talking to a person about your marriage problem when they've never been married. There's no need of talking about a kid, talking to your friends about a kid problem if they don't have kids. Go find the grandparent. Go find someone who has lived lives and they know, and now drop your problem on them and say, listen, I'm having a problem with my kid. And I promise you, 9 times out of 10, the older person will start laughing and saying, that's not a problem. That's just a situation. You follow me?
That's interesting.
I will tell you this. One of the things, and I know this is not fashionable these days, but I can tell you that I have found, as I have worked, you know, when I think about faith and about a higher power, I always like to tell people you're not alone. That there is a force greater than us, the Lord himself, who knows what's going through, what we're going through. And I know it's A lot of people don't like it. They want to dismiss it because we've got people who have been involved in religion who's given it a bad name.
No.
But the real nut of it is love your neighbor, your family. You know, it's about humanity. It's about loving the other person and caring about them. And when you know somebody cares about you, it seems to provide some support. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, well, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, that's a very simple phrase, but it says everything.
It does.
How you want to be treated is how you should treat others. And the most important part of this equation is that's not difficult to understand. I keep telling everybody, everybody's kid is my kid.
There you go.
Everybody's mother is my mother. So imagine when you get a phone call and saying, this happened to your kid. I feel the same pain because I'm imagining, oh my God, that could happen to my kid. I wouldn't want that to happen to my kid. I wouldn't want that to happen to my mother or father. It's called compassion. It's called humanity. And now, again, religion is something that's based on a foundation of exactly that, right? The I am and I am. I am a part of God, a part of this universe. There's no higher or lower except one thing. God is the higher. And everything after that is right at our level. There is nothing else.
And despite everything that happens in one's life, I believe he's in control, and it helped me to get out of the funk I was in back when I went through that unbelievable, horrible, horrific situation. But I also know that you don't just need that. You need people that can help you. You need professionals, people that can understand exactly how to deal with that. But you got to be open to it. You know, you got to be open to it.
Yeah, they can't. You know, Governor. I always tell people every day, people can't help you if you don't call for help. And sometimes, you know, we were brought up in that wonderful generation where, you know, men don't cry. You know,
that's right.
Suck it up, take it on the chin, take it on the chin. We've heard that a number of times. Well, let me tell you something, guys. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel. It's okay to say I'm in trouble. It's okay to say I don't know what to do. You know, I remember when my kids came to me one day and they said, Dad, what are you going to do about so-and-so and so-and-so? I said, well, I'm going to say something that's probably not in the parent book. I have no blessed idea how to fix this. And they both looked at me and I said, yes, because I'm human. I've never dealt with this particular problem, but we'll work it out together. We'll work it out together. And there's a part of being a person vulnerable is such a part of life that we keep thinking is not in life according to the way we were brought up, Doc. I mean, and Governor, you know, we were brought up that we're supposed to know the answers. It's okay if you don't know. But in the process, let somebody know so you can not look like an idiot sitting there trying to figure out something you don't know anything about.
Wear your emotions on your sleeve is what we think. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let Lionel go. He's a busy man. As you know, he just finished American Idol on Sunday night. I asked him if he was going to get a multi-year contract. He said, absolutely not. If they don't want me, then I won't come back, which is unheard of and unbelievable. But I just want to say, Lionel, the thing that's so interesting is, and I no suck up here, this is just a fact. People just love you. They just absolutely love you. You know, from the older folks who are so familiar with all of your work to the young people. Before we came on, I had a conversation with 4 or 5 young women, and they're like, oh, we love him because so much of our life, his lyrics are part of our life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real guy. This is a really wonderful, wonderful guy. And through the course of doing all this, Lionel, I got to meet Chris Evans, who's Captain America. There's a guy that never ever thought he was anything other than a kid from Boston. Right. And when you meet people like that, you have hope in the world that, you know, and you do so many good things for people. So thank you for taking the time. For you, Dr. Huston, give us that website one more time. People may want to go and take a look because they can get information. Give us that website.
Yeah, go to onoursleeves.org is the website. And also thanks to the Mental Health Coalition for hosting us here. And, you know, there's a lot of great partner organizations through the coalition that you can look up, and they have support for all different types of people in different types of situations. So it's a really great organization that we're proud to be part of.
Lionel. Kenneth
Yeah,
Cole
Kenneth
rocks.
Cole is
He
awesome.
rocks.
You can say.
He rocks.
See
Yep.
you soon, my friend.
Take
Thanks,
care. I'll
Lionel.
talk to you
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Governor.
Talk soon.